Hey there, travelers. Mag and I here on day 36 of our trip around the United States. Last night we made it just to the edge of Cleveland. We're out here in the Willoughby Hills, shooting in front of Squire's castle. We're about to go hit the trails and find a few caches out here and enjoy the nice morning sunrise. We are officially ready to begin taking on the counties and pages in Ohio. Now, even though I've been advertising this trip as finishing all the counties in the contiguous U.S., you may have noticed all the maps up until now really focused on the DeLorme pages. There's a reason for that. In the states that we've been covering so far, the DeLorme pages are actually more of a challenge to get to than the counties. If you're doing the DeLorme pages, the counties are pretty much an automatic game. It's not the case here in Ohio. In Ohio, there's 88 counties in the state, whereas there's only about 60 DeLorme pages. So our real focus is going to be on the counties, and when we get to the edges of the states, we'll really just be looking at the pages that are kind of right on the edge of the county. As you may notice with the map, that's mostly already taken care of. We've been to Ohio a couple of times for the Midwest Geocache, and that gave us an opportunity to run the edges of the state, but we never really had a chance to see the interior of Ohio. So this is our first chance to really get to explore the state. I'm pretty excited about what's ahead. I know this state has a lot of great things to offer, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity to share it with you too. So come on, let's go check it out.
We started our morning at the Squire's Castle off Route 6 in the Willoughby Hills. The castle was built in the 1890s by Cleveland oil pioneer Fergus B. Squire. The funny thing is that this castle was only supposed to be the gatekeeper's lodge. The original owner had a much grander plan to construct property along these 525 acres. That never came to fruition, and what we're left with are these castle ruins that you can come explore before hitting the trail system. It's not exactly every day you get to walk through an old castle in Ohio. Or, really any castle in Ohio. In either case, that's water under the moat now. The castle is open to the public and is surrounded by footpaths, riding trails, and a large grassy field where families can come and enjoy the day together. And of course Aichan and I could not resist the urge to hit the trails out here behind the castle. After all the driving we did yesterday on the way to Erie and back out into Ohio, it was really good for the puppy to get her stretch her legs out here like this. Just what we needed. Our first stop into Cleveland was the Warner and Swayze Observatory. I'll admit, I was expecting something a little more operational. Then we were in for a real treat when we got to the Lakeview Cemetery. Although I'm not big into lab caches, me mom did show me the ropes while we were in New York. I pulled up a lab cache for the cemetery and it did not disappoint. In addition to the other targets I was already in pursuit of, the lab cache brought us to some of the better statues in the cemetery. This was really right up my alley. And there were some pretty unique pieces along the grounds. Over the wall and into the unknown. President Andrew Garfield is buried here, but unfortunately it's inaccessible at this time. We were, however, able to visit the Rockefeller Monument, another one of the big names buried here in Lakeview Cemetery. After that, we made our way into the heart of downtown Cleveland. Like the other cities we've seen in the last month, I'm always impressed by the towering skyline of the city. And when you're standing in the heart of downtown, all you have to do is make a turn, and there's new buildings to look at around you. The busiest area in the city, by far, with a couple of blocks surrounding Playhouse Square in any direction. The giant chandeliers seem to be a center point for all the activity. While not as difficult as cities like Boston or New York, it was still not easy to find parking down here. So when Aichan and I managed to grab a space near the giant stamp, we jumped on it and stuck with it. From there we walked around on foot in pursuit of some of the virtuals in the area. Exploring a city like this on foot is always the way to go. The Fountain of Eternal Life in Memorial Plaza is definitely an eye-catcher. This 35-foot high statue represents man escaping from the flames of war and reaching skyward to obtain peace. Abraham Lincoln looks onward across the plaza toward the Fountain of Eternal Life. seemingly in approval of the goal to achieve peace. It's just a short skip and a hop around the corner from there to the Eastman Reading Garden. All of the letters around the garden are all jumbled up thanks to these little beetle buddies. They do seem to mean well, though. Much like their comfortable surroundings, they encourage travelers and children alike to come sit down and read for a spell, enjoying the peaceful surrounding of the gardens. My kind of spot. Our last stop during the tour of the city is the Soldiers and Sailors Monument. The centerpiece of this monument is the 125-foot column surrounded by statues on each side. Each depicts a different angle of battles during the Civil War, including mortar practice, short range, color guard, and advanced guard. It's all of the little details that really make these statues stand out. Once we left the city, the day got a lot quieter. It turns out that the western portion of Ohio consists of a lot of farmlands. A lot of farmlands. This is pretty much what the whole rest of our day looked like.
Well, travelers, that wraps up another day on the road and our first full day spent here in Ohio. Our morning started off pretty busy in the Willoughby Hills at Squire Castle. Aichan and I spent a couple hours out on those trails and had a good time of it. Immediately after that, we went into Cleveland and we toured around the city doing some virtuals and some adventure labs in the cemetery. We ended up spending about half our day between the Willoughby Hills and Cleveland, so after that we really kind of needed to get a move on. We followed along the coast of Lake Erie all the way up to Port Clinton. At Port Clinton we turned inland and started heading into Ohio. As soon as we pulled off the coast of Lake Erie, farmlands. And it's been farmlands all day long. After going through the rolling mountains and forests of Pennsylvania, it's a pretty big change of pace to be out here in the flatlands of Ohio. We had some rolling hills this morning when we started. Those have disappeared. It's just one big flat plain now. Stay tuned to see where the rest of our journey in Ohio brings us. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and we'll see you out on the trails.